Smart buildings are the future of the enterprise, and TIA is on the front lines. We're here with Ron Zimmer of CABA and Julie Roy of C2 Consulting, and panelists, welcome to the program.
Good to be here.
Ron, a pleasure to have you. Julie, I know you, and we just met a few moments ago, and it's, again, a pleasure to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we're talking about smart grid and how that affects and impacts smart buildings. Ron, what is the true impact of that convergence, and what can industry expect going forward?
Right now, smart grid is a hot topic. When you consider that in the U.S. alone, there are 3,100 approximately utilities that are moving forward at different paces to really what we call grid modernization. To truly create the smart grid that many of them would like to create, and what the government obviously would like to create, is to include buildings into their ecosystem. So buildings by their nature are most often not as smart as we'd like them to be. So those that are now gathering integrated systems to become intelligent can truly tap into what the utilities can offer, like demand response, load shedding, time of use pricing.
Now, Julie, you chair a key standard and a committee that affects smart buildings and intelligent buildings. What is the importance of standards, and how important is it right now in the development of those smart buildings?
Well, under the TIA TR42 Engineering Committee, actually we were very early on. In 2000, the beginning of 2000, the word convergence was the word of the day. Everybody were talking about convergence to IP. But honestly, the product were not ready yet. However, the members of the TIA TR42.1 decided to move forward and create a standard, which was published in 2002, the NCTIA 862, the Building Automation Cabling Standards. And although we were very early, now today it's definitely very apropos. And as Ron just mentioned it, now we're not talking about convergence, now we're talking about integration. And this standard allows you to integrate building automation system and intelligent building. So this standard is really up to date and very useful for the people today.
If I could just add to that point, and that TIA has been so positive in terms of trying to help create interoperability, open standards. So we know there are something like in excess of over 300 different standards. So in the utilities and in the buildings, if we can create these open standards and create interoperability, it will help the smart grid move that much faster in terms of fruition, as well as intelligent buildings.
Now, Ron, there's some key terminology, and that is net zero output. This is something that was new to me in doing my research for this segment. What is the progression towards net zero output right now?
It's not as fast as we'd like, but there have been some strong efforts made by, in fact, even on the regulatory basis, within certain states and jurisdictions to try to encourage and to achieve, in some cases by 2020 or 2030, net zero buildings. So that basically over a full year, a building would actually produce as much energy as it would actually utilize. So today, unfortunately, we only have in the US alone 12 large buildings. We have a number in terms of the residential, but there's only 12. But again, the efforts on smart grid, where you're trying to achieve energy savings, the production of energy through renewables like photovoltaics, wind, etc., geothermal, all of those are going to be positive effects to achieve in the future actual more and more net zero buildings.
Julie, when you're developing standards for this, and I would call it cutting edge development as far as smart buildings go anyway, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you face on your committee when doing so?
I think the most challenging was to be able to bridge proprietary solution and make them IP enabled so that we have an open structure. And I believe that the standard is offering a good cabling foundation that will allow you to start with something that may be proprietary and will move forward to a full integration of an open system that will work very well in conjunction with the grid, with the smart grid. So the two together really is going to maximize, I think, the functionality of the grid and the intelligence behind the whole system.
Now, Ron, public policy, as you know, can impede and also enhance any rollout of any new technology. You know that more than anybody. Does that play a role in the rollout of smart buildings? I'm sure it does.
Absolutely. So, and unfortunately, because there is a strong effort now at the highest levels, from the presidential level, Stephen Chu, Secretary of DOE, National Institute of Science and Technology, and many other groups are working very diligently to try to help facilitate that. So that does require regulatory change that will help encourage it. We have, of course, 3,100 utilities, each with their Public Utility Commission and Municipal Board, etc., who in some cases still have policies that in fact discourage a utility from trying to generate savings or to reduce the amount of energy that it sells, because it's an investor-owned utility. So on the good side, there are some positive changes. On the negative side, we still have a long way to go to really create the regulatory environment that will actually encourage and incentivize, for example, utilities to make those changes so that we can actually get to more net zero buildings or a reduction in the amount of energy that's required within their jurisdiction.
And Julie, we had Alan Weidman on the program just earlier talking about the STEP Foundation. I wanted you to add a little bit to that, if you could, and how that plays a role in the implementation of smart buildings.
Oh, definitely, the STEP, and I think also the STEP Foundation and the whole program per se will also help the smart grid as well as the intelligent building, because the STEP is an umbrella of those technology. The cabling infrastructure that the standards, the TIA 862, now -A, it's been revised, is providing a good foundation for those technology. So eventually, when we go more forward with the STEP, people will see the benefit of going towards intelligent building and going towards a smart grid, because there's going to be so much gain with the sustainability of the energy. A good example, and you gave that in your presentation this morning, the lighting. You said, maybe you could remember me, I listened to your presentation, but you talked about the lighting being one of the #1.
Yeah, lighting is clearly the largest energy consumer in the building, and it's also the one that actually will give you the greatest payback. Often,
right.
If you change out your lighting system to intelligent lighting, you actually can have a payback of approximately 2 years. So
that's very good.
And interesting, our research that we've done through the intelligent buildings, or smart grid's impact on intelligent buildings, found, which surprised us a little bit, that the building owners and developers typically don't put new technology in unless they have about a 2 or 3 year payback. And we were surprised, because we thought with life cycle costing, if you look at a 40-year or even 50 or 60-year life cycle, that it makes a lot of sense to reduce your operating expenses, which intelligent building technologies would.
Right.
And so, but the reality is that most owners, for different reasons, will only look at that 2 year payback. So that's why lighting is a natural, because it's such a big energy consumer, so you can have the greatest amount of savings. STEP, of course, really encourages not just on the lighting, but to really recognize the fact that there are a lot of great technologies that can lead to sustainable and energy efficient buildings, and so that's why STEP, I think, has been such a positive move forward. I realize we're still at the early stages, but it hopefully will generate that interest in the building community.
Well, I think it's important as these industries converge that we have discussions like this, not only to come to conventions like Bixie 2012, but also to sit and talk about it, because I think that helps get the word out, and I think STEP's a good example of that.
Definitely.
Again, I appreciate you guys taking the time out. And if you'd like to get this program in its entirety on demand, you can visit us at tianow.org. So long.